the air. The Bud Mogul Series has moved west, way west, and today the Paul Mitchell Cup comes to you from Snow Summit, California. Hi everybody, I'm Duffy Wilson and welcome to the sixth stop of the Bud Mogul Series. Joining me on the telecast are ESPN analyst, Olympic bronze medalist Nelson Carmichael. Nelson, our top two skiers of the tour are here in Snow Summit. Cameron Boyle at the top of the bracket, Chuck Martin at the bottom.
Well, first of all, Cameron Boyle is here. He says his back is a little bit sore, but he usually comes in and says his back is sore, and then he does great anyway.
He's got some tea bags, some Chinese stuff taped to his back. Maybe you should tape him to his head. That'd make him feel good too. He's number one. Chuck Martin is number two.
Chuck Martin had a bit of a slow start early in the season. Then we went back east for the Triple Crown, ended up winning that, and now he's almost in that top spot for the tour, so he's been skiing great lately.
Another thing happening here at Snow Summit, it's opening day for the professional skiers on the women's side. They start here in Snow Summit. We're ready for the action. Let's go to the start. Temperature is about 40 degrees and 16 inches of new snow fell just yesterday. Conditions are excellent. Visibility is tough. Come on, boy. We're down to 16 competitors, and the number one seed will be on the red course. That's Cameron Boyle. He'll go up against, on the blue course from Breckenridge, Colorado, Scotty Hall. Scotty Hall skiing out of Breckenridge, Hospital Air Hall. It'll be Cameron Boyle, the number one seed on the red course.
Obviously has come up through the ranks all season long, sitting in that number two position on the tour. Number one position right now, spread twister there from Cameron Boyle, and a spread on the other side. Scott Hall's running into trouble in the blue course.
Hall having some tough turns, but he's out the lead right now over Cameron Boyle. Boyle is skiing very well. They're off the lower air together, and a screaming seaman by Boyle.
That is a great trick because in the judge's eye, the jumps are just compared against each other. That screaming seaman really sticks out. People go, boom, what was that? I want to look at that trick, and then it gets a big score.
And Cameron Boyle advances to the quarterfinals. The number one seed moves up. The score, 14-11. Our next pairing in the round of 16 on the blue course. From Steamboat, Colorado, it'll be Bob Dickey. He's 30 years old, taking 3 events off. Not a good season so far, but Dickey is now in the round of 16. It'll be Klaus Holm on the red course. Klaus Holm, 25 years old, out of Vail, Colorado on the red. Dickey on the blue.
And here they come to that first jump. Watch Klaus Holm. He has some great leg action, really good absorption and extension. Bob Dickey, slightly different style. I ski with Bob Dickey quite a bit back home in Steamboat. And here he is out here competing at Snow Summit into that second jump. Wow, big air there down the twister spread from Bob Dickey. The line is going to be about even for speed.
Dickey with a great lower air, and Bob Dickey advances over Klaus Holm, 14-11. The 1994 Bud Mogul Series is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for a crisp, clean, classic taste, and by Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care for vibrant hair nourished and cared for by the elements of our earth. Welcome back to the Bud Mogul Series. Nelson Carmichael and Duffy Wilson. Nelson, look at this. We've had 5 events this year, and we've had 5 different winners.
All of these guys, except for one, have won an event before on the Bud Mogul Series. Chris Drops, of course, he's new to the winner's circle, and he did it well in Winter Park. But everybody else, they're a seasoned professional.
Up next on the blue course, it'll be the veteran Paul Lane. He was second in Breckenridge, skied a season on the World Cup Tour. Tom Brand is a rookie, his first professional event. He's all the way to the round of 16. Brand, the rookie on the red, Lane, the vet on the blue.
And Lane gets a jump on Brand right out of the start. Let's see what they can do on this top jump. Double twister there from Brand, and a small maneuver from Paul Lane, but Brand ran into trouble right on that landing of the first jump.
The rookie has made a lot of mistakes in the middle of the course. He will be back as he's coming back. Paul Lane with a very smooth run on the blue course. Lane to the finish line first. He'll get that speed judge.
Paul Lane off the second air, Daffy twister spread. He gets the moves in, but not real big. Does this mostly with his feet. Doesn't stretch those maneuvers out.
But Paul Lane had enough. A 13-12 victory over Brand, and Lane moves up. Our next pairing in the round of 16 will be Chris Drops on the blue course. Drops is number 4, seeded out of Breckenridge, Colorado. He won in Winter Park. He's going to be going up against the Skyman. Scott Skyman Harrington, 31 years old, out of Squaw Valley, California, will be on the red course.
Well, we have two great skiers right here. They both know each other skiing fairly well. They know nothing is taken for granted. Look at Skyman there at the spread twister, trying to hang on to that landing. Chris Drops, getting his hands back slightly. Ooh, some mistakes from both skiers. Skyman Harrington's getting wild, but a big jump there, and also a big jump from Chris Drops. Skyman very fast.
Very fast skiing by both competitors. And the winner is Chris Drops by a close score of 13-12. Drops advances. Only 2 hours from downtown Los Angeles, but millions of miles away, Snow Summit's got it all. Great skiing for all levels, unbelievable snow, thanks in part to one of the world's best snowmaking systems, and a snowboarder's paradise. One thing Snow Summit doesn't have is long lift lines. Because they limit their ticket sales, skiers are guaranteed short lines, plenty of runs. Snow Summit, where the skiing's great and the sun guarantees fun. Gotta ski. A programming reminder for you downhill ski racing fans, watch Tommy Moe and AJ Kitt get it on in Aspen, Colorado. It's the Winter National America's Downhill, March 5th at 4 o'clock p.m. on ESPN. Go USA. And here's 2 more skiers enjoying Snow Summit. They're in the round of 16. Jeff Stoll is up next on the blue course. Stoll from Kirkwood, California. He's 30 years old. He'll be going up against former tour champion Dave the Thrill Hill from Vail, Colorado on the red.
And again, you have a couple of very evenly matched skiers in Stoll and Hill. First jump spread there from Hill, but a spread twister from Jeff Stoll. Stoll's getting a bit ahead right now. Hill, oh, into some trouble. Look out, Hill, here he comes.
Hill is flying on the red course. He slows it down for the lower air. The bottom air goes to Hill, and he gets the speed judge first. And Jeff Stoll and an amazed Dave Hill as we have a blue course winner. Stoll advances 13-12, and Hill is gone in the round of 16. Moving quickly, we go back to the start, and speaking of quick, it'll be Brad Holmes on the blue course, fastest feet in the moguls, and he's going up against Shane McConkey. McConkey, one of the flyers on the tour, will be on the red.
McConkey gets a bit of a jump right here. On this short course, you've got to make your point quickly, and there's one right there, a helicopter from Shane McConkey.
Great air by McConkey, helicopter, but look at Bradley Holmes now on the blue course. Great turns, McConkey gets crazy and he rolls forward, crosses the center line. Shane McConkey with a great run and a huge fall on the red. Nelson, what happened there?
Shane thinks he's doing okay, but he gets into trouble, crosses his skis, tip, goes into the snow, flies over, head over heels. He's out of there.
Big bumps and big thumps as McConkey is out and Bradley Holmes advances. McConkey DQ. We continue the battle here in the Paul Mitchell Cup at Snow Summit. Up next, it'll be 5-time pro champion Scott Koff. He'll be on the blue course skiing out of Vail, Colorado. Somebody he knows very well, also from Vail, Colorado. On the red course, it'll be Gary Margai.
Koff, a very fast, powerful skier. Margot, a little smoother, takes a little bit more direct. Twister spread there for Margot. You see Koff maybe taking it a bit easily here, Duffy.
Scott Koff making great turns. Margot getting very close to the center line. Gets back to the air. They are neck and neck as they come all the way down this course side by side. Scott Koff and Gary Margot to the finish line. It looks like Margot got that speed judge. And that speed judge was very important to Gary Margot, as by a very close decision, he advances to the quarterfinals, 13-12 over 5-time Tour champion Scott Koff. We now go to our final pair in the round of 16. It'll be Chuck Martin, seeded number 2 on the blue course, and on the red course, it'll be Steve Hubert, 30 years old, skiing out of Hood River, Oregon. Hubert on the red, Martin on the blue.
Could be a good duel here. Look for good things out of Chuck Martin, like that spread twister. Hubert slightly back on the landing. Chuck's pulling ahead already down the middle part of the course.
Chuck Martin way ahead of Hubert, as Martin skiing on the bottom side of that bracket, looking for an easy speed judge. Will it be a huge speed judge? Martin to the finish line, Hubert chasing him far behind.
Nice run for Chuck Martin. I think he used this as practice, as he knew he was ahead of Steve Hubert in the middle part of the course. Then wails off that second jump, Daffy twister spread.
And there you have the round of 16 as Chuck Martin says, I'm moving up. He advances 16-9, and we'll be back for the quarterfinals right after this. Welcome back to the Bud Mogul Series, the Paul Mitchell Cup from Snow Summit, California. We now have 8 competitors left in the competition. The number 1 seed at the top, Cameron Boyle, and the number 2 seed at the bottom, Chuck Martin.
That's right, and the way this bracket is lined up, both those guys, 1 and 2, could end up in the final. But first of all, Boyle has to get past Bob Dickey. Obviously, Chuck Martin at the bottom has to get past Gary Margot. And you've got all these guys in the middle, Duffy. Anything could happen. It's a great quarterfinal.
And here comes Bob Dickey on the red course, Cameron Boyle on the blue course. The number 1 seed is on course.
Nice triple maneuver there, spread, twister, spread for Bob Dickey, but he's hanging on to it. Meanwhile, look at Cameron Boyle, nice, tight, clean skiing on the blue course.
Cameron Boyle skiing on the blue course, and a screaming city crosses over out of that Daffy. And Dickey just wails to the finish line.
Cameron Boyle, Daffy, leg cross, Daffy on the bottom jump, otherwise known as a screaming seaman and a real crowd pleaser, also a judge's pleaser.
And Cameron Boyle advances on the blue course over Bob Dickey, 14-11. He's in the quarterfinals. Our next pairing in the round of 8, Paul Lane will be on the blue course and Chris Drops will be on the red course. When I watched them train, Chris Drops was just shredding this hill. 2 big, powerful skiers enter the course. Lane on the blue, your right. Chris Drops air on your left.
Twister spread from Chris Drops and a spread from Paul Lane. Lane doesn't quite have the arsenal. Look at this, though. Chris Drops lost his pole. Uh-oh, what is going to happen here? Still goes off that second jump, barely. Meanwhile, Paul Lane looks okay, cruising through the finish.
Chris Drops with a great run with 1 pole. And Paul Lane wins that race as Chris Drops could not overcome the handicap of losing a pole. Lane advances 14-11. Well, that was quite a trick by Chris Drops, skiing with 1 pole. Nelson Carmichael, tell us about some better tricks.
In mogul skiing, there's almost a limitless supply of aerial tricks or maneuvers you can do off these big airs. But basically, you have 4 tricks that are combined to put everything together. You have the twister, spread, Daffy, and the helicopter. Now, to do a twister, you twist your skis over to the side while you keep your upper body facing down the hill, and then hopefully land. In the spread, you want to spread wide open from your legs and spread your skis out as far as you can beneath you, keeping your hands in front. To do a Daffy, it's kind of like a big moonwalk. Okay, you want to do a big split, you want to put your front leg way out in front of you and stretch it up high with your back legs straight behind you. Then bring them back together for the landing, again with your hands in front. Helicopter is a little bit more tricky. You have to set your hips, your shoulders, your head, everything has to go in that direction you want to spin. Got to get all the way around to 360, land with your hands in front with your eyes looking ahead, and you've got the helicopter. One of the keys to being a successful mogul skier is to not only have good jumps, but also to be able to do good combinations of jumps. Woo! Now that's one of my favorite tricks, Daffy Twister Spread. You gotta get a lot of air for that, but if you hang on to it, it's a really fun trick because it combines three elements, the Daffy, the Twister, and the Spread. So when you watch today, look for those good maneuvers, but make sure you look for the clean ones and of course the clean combinations.
I was going to do some of those jumps myself. We let Nelson do them. Let's get back to the real skiers along with Nelson Carmichael. Now we go to the top of the course. On the blue course, it'll be Bad Rad bumping Bradley Holmes on the blue course. He'll be going up against Jeff Stoll out of Kirkwood, California on the red course.
Holmes has to turn it on here against a fast Jeff Stoll and a fast red course. Into that first jump, it's Stoll first, Spread Twister, and a Cossack there from Bradley Holmes. Bradley skiing fast, quick feet through the middle part.
He rocketed off the upper air on the blue course and just went way ahead of Stoll, but they're neck and neck right now, and a beautiful twister by Bradley.
Nice through the finish. Look at the speed on Jeff Stoll, especially in the bottom part of the course. Bradley Holmes triple twister, gets 90 degrees deflection on every twister. Real nice maneuver, gets his hands in front. Bingo, hits the landing.
And that twister, Nelson, should have been in your trick reel, and it is a very trick bag for Bradley Holmes as he advances on the blue course. We are now ready for our final matchup in the round of 8. It'll be Chuck Martin on the red course going up against Gary Margot on the blue. Martin on the red, Nelson, and Margot on the blue.
Well, as you know, Margot took out Scott Koff earlier, but ooh, he's into trouble right there against Chuck Martin. Chuck Martin knows he's ahead at this point. He says, hey, I'm going to take this jump. Daffy Twister Spread, cruise on through the finish line. Too bad for Gary Margot. He was looking good in the earlier rounds.
And that is the fourth and final piece of our puzzle. We'll head next to the semifinals as Chuck Martin wins 16-9. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Bud Mogul Series, the Paul Mitchell Cup from Snow Summit, California. There are 4 skiers left in the men's competition. Nelson, let's talk about that.
Cameron Boyle, of course, #1 in the tour, #1 in the seed today, on top of the bracket. He might have an easy route to that final.
I'll tell you what's going to be a great run in the semifinals. Bradley Holmes next will meet Chuck Martin.
Chuck Martin, #2, but just came off big wins from the East Coast, so it should be great. We may see Martin and Boyle in the final, who knows?
And we also have the women's final coming up. Let's go to the start. We are ready for the women's final. It'll be Kristen Brown going up against Maggie Connor. Kristen Brown advanced over Patty Sherman in the semis.
Boy, barely advanced. Kristen Brown and Patty Sherman had a close duel. It could have gone either way, but the judges went with Kristen Brown.
And last year's #2 skier for the women on the Bud Mogul Tour, Susan Tobias, former U.S. team member, was stopped by Maggie Connor, who just left the U.S. ski team to turn pro.
And here's Maggie Connor with some great skiing. Susan Tobias just had some trouble on her landings, had some mistakes after both jumps, so Connor moved ahead into the final.
And on the blue course, it'll be Kristen Brown. Kristen Brown from the U.S. team. This is her opening day on the tour. It's a coming out party also for Maggie Connor. Maggie Connor will be on the red course. Both of these women just left the U.S. team to turn pro.
Here they are at Snow Summit in the final, as you say. Coming down hard, Maggie Connor getting to that first jump first with the spread eagle, and a spread also for Kristen Brown.
Connor skiing on the red course, Brown on the blue course as the women now are in the middle section of the course. Red course moves to the center.
Good clean skiing right here. They're both fairly even. Maggie's still a bit ahead. Twister spread there. And a twister spread also from Kristen Brown. They must have looked at each other and said, what are you going to do for jumps? I'll do the same.
Connor to the finish line first. Brown follows. And now we look to the judges, but Nelson, tell us about that run.
Good run for both skiers. Maggie Connor got ahead from the start and stayed ahead all the way through the run. Nice twister spread here at the bottom part of the course.
And Maggie Connor gets her first pro victory, her first paycheck on her own with a 16-9 victory over her former teammate and now competitor, Kristen Brown. And now it's time for the men's semifinals. 4 skiers left, 2 of them at the start. Cameron Boyle will be on the blue course. He'll be going up against Paul Lane on the red.
And as we get into these last rounds, the training and all the time stayed on the mogul course, all that time banging these bumps starts to take its toll. Let's see who the fittest is here. Cameron Boyle's looking pretty smooth, but so is Paul Lane right next to him.
A great duel by Lane and Boyle as they take the lower air side by side. And to the finish line, Lane with a mistake and Boyle with the speed judge.
Cameron Boyle very clean skiing in the middle part of the course. He was staying right in his line, really concentrating on what he needed to do to get the victory.
And Nelson, that is why he's the #1 skier on the tour with a 15-10 victory over Paul Lane. He's in the finals. Boyle has advanced. Chuck Martin now, #2 seed, will be on the blue course. He'll be going up against Bad Rad Bumpin' Brad Holmes. Should be a great run.
Both these guys are extremely fast skiers, and you know, it is a psychological advantage to be ahead of your competitor in duels. Gives you that clean line of sight through your line. Whoa, Bradley Holmes in trouble.
Bradley Holmes over revved the motor, and Bradley Holmes, a beautiful twister. That's got to be the air of the day. Bradley Holmes beat himself. The win goes to Chuck Martin, 17-8. When we come back, it's #1 going up against #2, the finals from Snow Summit when we return. Welcome back to the white stuff. Nelson Carmichael and Duffy Wilson, 4 competitors left. 2 are about to do battle for 3rd and 4th place. It'll be Paul Lane from Heavenly Valley, California, skiing on the blue course. He'll be going up against Brad Holmes on the red course.
Out of the gate, you can see Paul Lane saying, come on, open, open, I want to get out of here. Into that first jump first is Paul Lane with the spread and a fairly big Cossack there for Bradley Holmes. Bradley's got to catch up.
Paul Lane is so big, he can reach forward and open the gates, but remember there's a barge board at his feet that won't let his skis move. Bradley Holmes on his way to the finish line. There's the battle for 3rd and 4th. Bradley Holmes and Paul Lane.
Bradley Holmes into the second air, taking it easy with a double twister, cruising on through the finish.
And Paul Lane takes 3rd place here in Snow Summit with a 13-12 victory over Brad Holmes. And this is the way it should have been. #1 and #2 are at the top. Cameron Boyle, seeded #1, is on the blue course, and Chuck Martin, seeded #2, is on the red course.
These two are both very clean, fast skiers. It's a short course, as you know, so you want to ski very clean, not make any mistakes, especially here in the middle. As you can see, Chuck Martin has mistakes.
Chuck Martin making a big error in the middle of the red course, and Cameron Boyle having trouble above the lower air.
Cameron Boyle with that patented Screaming Seaman comes through second behind Chuck Martin. Boyle in the middle part of this tough course was skiing great. Next door, he didn't know it, but Chuck Martin was having all kinds of problems.
And Cameron Boyle is the first skier on the Bud Mogul Series at 94 to win 2. The score, 14-11 over Chuck Martin. Nelson's on his way down to talk with Cameron.
The top 2 skiers on the tour right now. Chuck Martin, 2nd place today, but you've been skiing great lately, especially this last month and back east.
Yeah, I kind of had my mind on school this fall, the first couple competitions, and I feel like I'm focused now. I'm focused on my skiing. Physically, I feel very strong, right in the center of my skis, and I feel like I'm just starting to lay down runs now.
Okay, congratulations.
Thanks.
And Cameron Boyle, you're now the only guy that's won 2 events on the tour this year, and of course they were back-to-back.
Yeah, it feels good, you know. It's always great to win. The money's always helps out, and it's just great to be back in California. Can't wait to go up to Heavenly and ski at Tahoe. Have a lot of my buddies will be up there, so hopefully I can keep skiing well.
Okay, well, good luck to you on the rest of the tour, and we'll see everybody in Heavenly for the next event.
And the Outdoor Products Big Air of the Day goes to Bad Rad Pumpkin Brad. Again, a great triple twister. The 1994 Bud Mogul Series is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for a crisp, clean, classic taste, and by Outdoor Products, backpacks made right here in the USA. Accommodations provided by Sleepy Forest Resorts, Snow Summit, California. This has been a presentation of CE Sports and Bud Sports in association with ESPN.